Hi there, you, and welcome to the show.
So it all started one day when I was watching the ARFF show on TV with my mother. My father arrived and changed the channel, and a very serious black man appeared.
The black man and the white man in America is already separated. The only way the black man's condition can be corrected in America is if we do it ourselves and separate ourselves from white society.
I didn't understand what he was talking about, but that very serious man said something that my father didn't like at all. My mother put Al Rucker back on, but it was too late. I don't know exactly what got into my father's head that day, but he said that the black man on TV was wrong, and that my little sister, who was a baby at the time, was going to live in a very different world than the one the man was imagining. I couldn't see how all that had anything to do with that little girl. But something must have. My mother tried to hide it, but I knew something was going on. The next day, my father went to his office, and without a second thought, he quit, took his severance pay, and bought a vacant lot on the outskirts of the city. He called it New World. It wasn't much, just a bunch of rocks, but my father said it was the foundation of the new world, and I was happy to see him happy, although in truth I felt a little ashamed. He wrote letters to everyone he knew telling them about the new world, but I don't think anyone wrote back. He even talked about this new world at the neighborhood meeting. But the only thing he achieved was to get us all in trouble. My mother pretended it was nothing, but I knew something was going on because at night they kept arguing. And when he told Uncle Jerry and Aunt Anna about the new world, they got very angry and never came to visit again. But he kept writing letters every night, piling up junk in the backyard and building crazy things in the vacant lot. By summer, the entrance to the new world was finished, although there was nothing on the other side. And then one morning we discovered a family in the wasteland. They had come because they wanted to live in my father's new world. Soon more came. But when they saw that the new world was nothing more than a wasteland, they left. My mother didn't want to see my father sad, so she asked me to help her organize a communal meal. We baked all kinds of cakes. When I woke up the next day, the garden was full of people. My father's ideas didn't seem to interest anyone, but my mother's cakes were famous in the whole neighborhood. Even the press came with the fuss that was made with the communal meal.
Oh, I think they really love everything that we do for them, and they're enjoying themselves.
And they find it an enjoyable experience?
Yeah, definitely.
I was very proud of my mother.
It's just been tremendous. Everyone's had a very good time. The food was terrific and wonderful. I feel like
that week, more people started to arrive who had heard about my father's crazy idea. Stranger and stranger people came. We were accommodating them in the new world as best as we could. Luckily, my mother always had a way with people. It was a lot of fun, to tell the truth. But almost nobody stayed until nightfall, all because we had hardly any light bulbs and we couldn't see a thing. But even without light, there were some who were convinced to stay in the new world. They tried to explain to each other what the new world was going to be like, but nobody knew for sure. Soon the news spread, and we were not only the laughing stock of our town, but of the whole country. They called from the TV station to talk about this new world. But he didn't realize that they were doing everything to make fun of him. But then my father said something that changed everything. This can also be your world. When he showed the plans, some people shut their mouths and started to listen. Yet some people laughed when they saw the houses made out of cardboard. No one really believed in my father. They couldn't trust their eyes when the first brick building started that summer. But even less so when my father decided to start building a sea.
The slide is built into a man-made mountain on a busy...
Well, it happens to be a very popular...
No, I don't think so.
The problem was that the sea had some holes in it, and it never filled up. So people kept telling him that he was crazy, and that this world of his with blacks and whites together wasn't going to work. And then Ray came along. He was a bricklayer, and he really knew how to build.
I saw how they gave her the attention.
Ray convinced an architect to come and live with her family in the new world. And before long, there was a whole neighborhood. We had a mall, a school, and Mrs. Mayer, who had been a florist, was in charge of building the jungle with her husband and daughter Lucy. I had never seen a jungle before, but I thought it was looking pretty good. People came from all over. There was a party every night. The best parties I have ever seen. Everyone was so happy and so convinced that this new world was going to work that I believed it too. Then things got ugly.
Steps will be taken in relation to the problem that we experienced.
And the inevitable happened.
There are economic problems involved. To some extent, minority groups wish to live together. To some extent, they want to stay in the areas, and obviously discrimination has played some...
My father was devastated.
I was completely shocked that this thing happened today.
The dream was over, but people refused to wake up.
It is my sincere opinion that within limits, it has accomplished.
This dredging situation has been very controversial for years.
I've tried hard to prepare a place wherein I could live with my family at ease.
I have to call the church, to have some kind of help.
Although the police kept beating us up, by then there were too many of us, and they had to accept the new world had to stay. But deep down, everyone knew that it was only a matter of time before the dream would end.
Demolish the houses.
Every day there were people on TV calling us all kinds of names and saying that it had to end. And then the worst thing happened. There were torrential rains, and the crazy pool that my family called the sea overflowed and flooded not only the new world but the whole city. Now people really were going to hate us. Even Mrs. Adams, who came all the way from Rockville, said my father was crazy and that she was leaving the new world. And then my father showed up smiling like a fool. And I didn't understand anything. The people of the new world were smiling too, and I understood even less. And then I saw it. They had made a sea. A real one. I think that's when I knew there would be no turning back. As soon as the rain stopped, people went back to repairing the new world. The new sea had revolutionized everyone, and they were going crazy. Soon we found out that other people who we didn't know about had started to expand the new world on their own in other places. They started to grow out of control. One morning, I woke up and some Irish people had built themselves an island in the sea of the new world, with a lighthouse and everything. My father died on the 17th of that August. He never got to see his project finished. But the new world continues to grow even though he's gone. And someday no one will even remember the old world anymore.
Dream, 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 dream.
It's amazing it all happened because my father didn't want to watch Al Rucker that afternoon.